So hello and welcome back to the final edition of the Unforced Error for a while anyway. So we're here to recap the men's final and have a brief look back and take a breath after the tournament as a whole. So Novak beat Tsitsipas in 3 sets, and so he won his 22nd Grand Slam and his 10th in Australia. I was talking the other day after the women's final, kind of hoping that the men's would be half as good and we wouldn't be complaining. And I think it was about half as good, but only half as good. But nonetheless, I think a three setter, the second set was tight. Whatever a three setter means to you, a tight three setter means to you, I think that's what it was. So I suppose Novak targeted Tsitsipas's backhand. I spoke earlier in the tournament about how nice it is to look at, but it's probably not the strongest thing in the world. But he came out of the blocks faster, and I suppose when you're playing a guy like Novak, you can't afford to not come out in the first set. And even he got into it in the second set, Tsitsipas, and played well. But even if you don't win the first set, you need to get into it. I always think when you're kind of losing a set and you're going to lose, it's good to finish off the game strong, because it just sets you up to get stuck into the second set. No, it was a very tightly contested second set and it went to a tie break, and a lot of broken serves in the tie break as well. So it was quite an interesting, not a tie break you see, a typical tie break. But I suppose Tsitsipas did have chances, but not many. I remember the commentators talking, here's a chance when he's on a break of serve, but he's only like 15-30 or low 15, you know what I mean? So he was never had a clear-cut chance at the same time. And I suppose when you're playing Djokovic, the chances that you do have are kind of, you need to take them, and there's pressure on you to take them. I think that's always the case when you're playing the bigger players. Like you'll always get chances, especially in a longer game, but it's the pressure you're under to take them, And I suppose when you're not going to get that many, I don't know, there's a creep in that you kind of force it that bit more to try and take the ones you do have, and you put more pressure on yourself to take it. But I think Tsitsipas was positive afterwards. He spoke very well, but he looked disheartened. He looked like he knew he could have played a bit better. But I think that's down to Djokovic rather than him. He didn't play his best game. I don't think Djokovic played his best game ever, but he did enough. And Djokovic came through a section of adversity as well. He was at his coach at one stage and really shouting at him and giving him a dirty look. But Djokovic has faced difficult situations like that time and time again. And he was just relentless, and you have to tip your hat off to him. He's a great champion, and it's funny, interestingly, there's a saying in American football that defense wins championships. And I was just thinking about the women's final as well, and how kind of the offensive game kind of reigned true in that, whereas in the men's final it was Djokovic's main power is his defense, and it was just interesting to me that in a longer set format, even though the games probably weren't that much longer this weekend, that defense becomes more apparent in this case, especially on the hard course. And I wonder how the humidity and kind of the weather factors in compared to Roland Garros and stuff like that. So yeah, Tsitsipas, was very philosophical afterwards. He was in the press conference room very quickly after, and he didn't get into the game too much, but he's looking forward to a long season. It's funny, again, as I mentioned at the start, this is a big major, but it's only the start of the season, and it's a long road ahead. And I think he didn't show his best, but I don't think that means he can't win a major. I really think, Tsitsipas at his best can beat a lot of great players, and he just needs to have a great day when it comes to a final. He just needs to put it together on the day, really. And I certainly wouldn't count him out. And hopefully, he talked a bit about Maria Sakkari in the press conference before the final. Hopefully those two can push each other on, because they're both around that stage where they could both probably win a major. They just need to push through and get a bit of luck here and just put it together for 7 games over 2 weeks, which is easier said than done. But hopefully they can push on. Never count the Greeks out. Once you've just about forgotten about them, and then they come and they're right there in front of you. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how his season goes as well. And so yeah, Novak's tied with Nadal now on 22 Grand Slams, and a real outpouring of emotion at the end. Someone who's always very restrained, or seemingly very restrained, and kind of blocking out the outer noise, really let his emotions out. It's kind of release when you win, and it just goes to show how much winning 7 games over 2 weeks and winning a Grand Slam still means to him, and how much it takes out of you. Just because you've done it 22 times doesn't make it easy. So it's just a credit to him, and be interesting to see now if Nadal can come back for the French Open and who will end up with the greatest amount of Grand Slams. So yeah, that's it for the Australian Open. It's hard to believe it's all over now. It's been so much happens, it seems, in 2 weeks, and so it's the Monday after the Slam now, and there's nothing quite like the sadness on a Monday evening after a Grand Slam. You don't really know what to do with yourself. I suppose you get to a point where you're kind of tired and you're kind of relieved that it's over, and the finals are always a mix because there's such a build up to them, and that's it. Then they're just over. But it's a sad affair. Monday evening after a Slam, there's a emptiness that's hard to describe, and yeah, we'll catch up on sleep and we'll get back to normal life. But it certainly seems like there's something missing for a while. But what a great tournament, and you wouldn't want to have it any other way. And I think we're only 112 days away to the opening of the French Open in Roland Garros, so that'll be here before you know it. About 112 days anyways. So yeah, I just want to say thanks to anyone who was listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I really appreciate a few lovely messages I got, and all the support from a few friends and my neighbours and everything like that. So really, really appreciate it. I think you all know who you are, and I'm not sure what happens next now, if I'll continue with this or if I'll be back. Hopefully I might be back. I've enjoyed it, but like Tsitsipas, now I need to take time away and reflect on what I've learned and see how I can go forward with this. So there's nothing like a Grand Slam. We've seen, the favourites kind of hold true. We've seen outsiders. We've seen number ones fall. We've had it all. We've had long games, short games. There's absolutely nothing quite like it. And as I said before, if you're kind of new to tennis or stuff, you think this is like a whirlwind of 2 weeks. This is just another Grand Slam, and as I said, 112 days time, we get to do it all again in a totally different city, different atmosphere, and different conditions. And you wouldn't want to have it any other way. So with that, thanks very much, and we'll see you in Paris.